I asked that idiot why he hated Mozart so much once. It's not like I was that interested, but while he's surprisingly sharp-tongued and never thinks about other people's feelings, I don't really see him speak ill of anybody very much. He even acknowledges a sourpuss like me, together with cheap words like I love you, you're the best, and awesome. He'd only really say that he hates someone if he truly dislikes. No, if he truly detests that person. It doesn't matter if you're the most idiotic fool or a terrible villain, because he's the kind of guy who can find radiancy in anybody. At the same time, that's a hopeless and misfortunate part of him too. Well, even if you ask me, after school at Yumenosaki Academy, in a vacant classroom that we've made a rehearsal space, with the desks and chairs pushed into the corners, I just hate what I hate. As he says something completely illogical, the aforementioned idiot, Tsukunaga Leo, pouts. His behavior is partly to blame, but he looks childish as usual. You could say it's his small build, but he's got a charming appearance to boot. He's short and slender, but doesn't look a bit fragile, strangely enough. Well, a small animal he may be, but I don't doubt that he's carnivorous. He tweaks his casually tied, twilight-colored hair, dyed by the sunset shining in through the window. For whatever reason, he's lying on the floor idly. He's a new species of beast, not yet discovered by anybody else. His tuft of hair bounces up and down like a tail. What an eyesore. He always acts like he's right at home no matter where he is, which is the complete opposite of me, as I end up feeling pretty uneasy wherever I may be. Apparently, that idiot got struck with his usual inspiration while we were in the middle of changing out of our knight's uniforms. Now he's scribbling in his notebook with his pen, half-dressed. As vacant classrooms rarely get cleaned, there's dust everywhere, but he still rolls back and forth without a care. Irritated, I step on him, holding him in place with my foot. I do respect him in my own way, but I can't stomach this part of him. He's like an infant who somehow managed to become a high schooler. What must his parents be like? Knights' uniforms are based on a mostly white color scheme, so any kind of dirt will really be visible. Mozart. Unconcerned by the fact that he's being stepped on, the idiot grumbles unhappily. I heard that he generally composed for the money. That's why I hate him, probably. That's just a common myth, isn't it? Some bad gossip spread by his business rivals. Besides, I'm sure that it was difficult for all composers to make a living back in those days. If you think of it like that, everybody composed for the money, don't you think? They weren't able to compose songs as a hobby like you can right now. Regurgitating the things I've learned in class, I smile wryly. Why am I even defending composers from long ago that I barely even know about? Nonsense. Well, it doesn't matter. Senna, I forbid you from saying it doesn't matter, all right? Saying my name with a weird intonation, the idiot looks up and glares at me with a somewhat lonely expression. Everything matters. That's how you view things. Don't go imposing your values onto me. I'm saying that negative words will make you regress too. Dirty words will dirty yourself. Don't underestimate the power of words. Listen to me, okay? Osama's orders are absolute. He says that jokingly, but immediately makes a straight face and starts flailing wildly. Ah! Who called me Osama? That'd be you. Anyway, you've gone off topic. That's such a bad habit of yours. What's wrong with being greedy for money? Is it that much of a bad thing to compose songs for business? In fact, I'd prefer people like him to hypocrites who blabber on about doing things for stuff like love and the world and God. That's how you view things, Senna. Don't go imposing your values onto me, right? Mimicking my previous words, he grins and cackles as if he's just accomplished something extraordinary. This part of him really is just like a brat. Anyway, it pisses me off, so I step on his head. Something's wrong. Off. This isn't what I wanted to say. This is so hard. Language is so restricting. The Tower of Babel has collapsed. You really can't explain anything with just words. This is trash. All I need is music. Without any concern about the cruel treatment he's receiving, the idiot makes a sullen face that doesn't suit him at all. Honestly, do you believe in the power of words or not? Try to actually think before you speak, or else listening carefully to everything you're saying and not ignoring you will make me feel really idiotic. Senna, did you know that while Mozart generally composed for money, there's pretty much only one song he made without any regards to profit? A historical masterpiece, a little serenade. Yeah, I learned that in class as well. You should attend too, occasionally, or else you're going to have to repeat a year. I don't like classes. I refuse to ask anybody to teach me anything. Are there humans who have monkeys teaching them arithmetic? Maybe. I don't know why, but taking classes in school feels like brainwashing and it makes me restless. Why are they forcing us into molds when the universe is so big? You're going off topic again. What, is it because he was supposed to be composing for the money, and you don't like that he changed his mind suddenly? That he wasn't being consistent, pure? I don't know, but I don't like it. I don't know what kind of guy Mozart was, and I might even end up loving him if we had a chance to talk in reality. But even though Mozart can write masterpieces without doing it for something like money, the accursed world and fate labeled him as somebody who was greedy for it. Maybe that's what I don't like? Don't ask me. The more we talk, the more confused I get. I have no idea what you're trying to say. Let's put an end to this talk, all right? Feeling a sense of futility, I abandon my conversation with the idiot and head to leave the classroom. I have work to do after this, so I'm going to leave. You should stop lying around here and head home too, okay? Isn't your family going to be worried? For my family, it'd be better for them if somebody like me wasn't around. The idiot mumbles in an unusual manner, vague and roundabout. Nimbly rolling over, he gets up from the floor and tosses something over to me. I catch it immediately, and it lands straight into the palm of my hand as if it was sucked in. I give it a glance. It's a cassette tape containing music. How anachronistic. What's this? A new song. The title's, A Little Senna Izumi. What, isn't that just a ripoff of A Little Serenade? Your sense of language really is the worst. I guess I have no choice but to take it, but what am I supposed to do with it? Are you telling me to practice with this for our next live show or something? Do what you want. I just made it 'cause I wanted to. Well, I suppose I'll keep it for the time being. See you later then. Bye. Senna, you know, rather than hating Mozart, in a rare occurrence, the idiot looks straight at me and speaks with a somewhat troubled smile. I might just be jealous of him. It would have been too much of a pain to ask him what he meant, so I didn't. Even now, I still don't know what he meant by that. Time passed since then. A lot of things happened, and that idiot became a shut-in. It's been so long since I've seen him that I barely even remember his face. But even so, he's still Knight's leader. So, to participate in Dreamfests, we needed his stamp for paperwork and such. The loud racket known as DDD will be starting soon, and we intend on participating. So, I went to his house. His home is a normal one. Who'd think that a wild person like him would have been raised in a place like this? I mean, it's not a rented house, and it's probably a decently wealthy household too. But compared to the large amount of wealthy people enrolled in Yumenosaki Academy, like in some kind of manga, really. It doesn't have the pedigree or financial power to boast about. It's just a very ordinary, common middle-class household. While those times are long gone, I had visited this house quite a lot in the past, so I was able to reach it without any trouble. Although I hesitate slightly as I stand at the doorstep, it'd be annoying to waste any more of my time for that idiot. So I quickly ring the doorbell. As I brush off some irritating petals that got stuck to my uniform, probably when I was heading over here, the door slowly opens up. Between the gap, I can see tufts of fluffy hair peeking through. It's that idiot's little sister. Considering she's still wearing her middle school uniform, she probably came back home not too long ago. Being a little shy, she peeks at me timidly. But that being said, considering I've gone through this door many times in the past, she knows who I am. After a little hesitation, her expression relaxes and she gives me a lovely smile. Hello, Izumi-san. Hey, is your brother here? Oni-chan is here, she says faintly. I see, I answer, and walk closer to her. Slowly, so I won't scare her. Sorry, but give this to that idiot. Tell him that he doesn't need to read it over. I just need the stuff inside stamped. I'll come back for it tomorrow. As I say that, I hand the envelope to her. With my business here done, I turn around to leave. His little sister grabs the hem of my uniform with a brooding expression. Eyebrows knitted together and worrisome, she desperately appeals to me. Can you say something to get Oni-chan to come out of his room, Izumi-san? If it's you, I think he'd listen. As she speaks in a trembling voice, she looks up at me with tears welling up in her large eyes. At least, tell him to eat. He won't listen to me, and at this rate, he's going to fall ill. Please, please help. Even if you ask me, I wanted to reject her in my usual manner. I doubt anything I could say now would get to that idiot. It was his own desire to plug his ears, to throw away everything and run away. I was disillusioned with him, and I'm still mad. I don't expect anything from him anymore. For a deplorable big brother to make his little sister worry so much like this, there's no reason for him to live, don't you think? Wouldn't it be better for him to hurry up and die? Good riddance to him. That's what I think, from the bottom of my heart. I thought about saying that, I really did. But his little sister, weeping before me as tears roll down her cheeks, really resembles him from long ago. All I could do is stand still in silence. Why has it come to this? Hey. Without warning, a nostalgic voice strikes my ears. Surprised, I look up. Right behind his sister, beside the front entrance, is his room, and the door was open ever so slightly. I can see his face peeking out a little from inside. These siblings really do act similarly. My lips twist in slight amusement, and he growls at me with a hoarse voice. Don't make Ruka cry. I'm not why she's crying. I look at him as he speaks his sister's name, weakly complaining. I have so many things that I wanted to say to him, so many emotions that I wanted to strike against him, more than I thought I did. But for some reason, everything died off. I look at him. Shabby, worn-out house clothes, untied, unkempt hair, dark circles under his eyes. He's shaking as if he's the most helpless creature in the world. It's over, I realize. Our youth became riddled with cracks. It's broken now, and its purity has been lost. That precious radiancy only exists in the past now, and he chose to be buried with it. But as for me, I still have things I need to do. At least eat something. Saying just that, I head home. I will not look back anymore. I have no interest in being satisfied with stroking the wreckage of a broken dream. Being the quickest way from his house to the nearest station, I walk along the shoreline. Seeing as how it's only just become spring, there are no signs of any human presence at the beach. All that's left are beer cans and remnants of fireworks left by people with no manners, plus rotting seaweed and worn-out seashells. I had thought about my shoes getting dirty and found it pretty unpleasant, but without much concern, I stride along with big steps. I kick at the sand and the unsightly objects left behind, accumulated by the past. I put my earphones on and connected them to my iPod, an older model in comparison to what's out now. With little care, I put my songs on shuffle and attempt to drive my mind away from the surging annoyance in my head. My iPod is full of songs he made. I've told him that I don't want them, but he kept creating one song after another and uploaded them all in it himself. But it was cheap for me, considering I was able to get new songs without having to buy them myself, so I left them alone. Besides, I didn't hate his songs. And it's rare, not hating something in a world that's full of unpleasant things. It's pretty hard to come by, really. But when was the last time he put a song into this iPod? I can't remember. The sound of the crashing waves slowly grows distant. Within these familiar songs, I walk with my head hung low. Without thinking, I suddenly stop. A song with an unpleasant singing voice comes up. The voice occasionally strains and is completely out of tune. It's the voice of an amateur, but despite that, he's singing in a loud voice as if unaware of how tone-deaf he is. Not the kind of guy you'd like to go out together to karaoke with. It's my singing voice from long ago. I did my modeling work perfectly, but I never had experience singing in front of people, so, well, of course I was awful. After going through a bunch of lessons, I'm a lot better now. It's like dieting, recording yourself from when you were no good, which becomes a guideline to how much you've grown. With that in mind, I kept it in my iPod and didn't delete it. Normally, I'd be unable to keep listening to this and end up skipping to the next song after a few seconds. But for some reason, even that feels too troublesome to do, so I let the audio flow on. Suddenly, the singing voice gets interrupted, and an unnecessary voice barges in. It's an idiotically cheerful voice that's laughing. Wahahaha! You have such a pretty face, but your singing is way out of tune. Hilarious. But your voice is pretty, so I'm sure you'll get better with some training. I love it. After that, I hear my own voice shouting in frustration, as well as the sound of me throwing a chair and probably a bunch of other things at him, and the loud noise of him gracefully but irritatingly dodging all of that. It continues on. And even in the midst of all that, a beautiful melody continues to play. There's no way any kind of store would have this playing, and I mean that in a bad way. In this large universe, it exists only in my iPod as a worthless bunch of notes. After listening to that idiotic echo of youth, I resume walking along the gloomy beach that seemed like a wasteland devoid of life. He was pure, like a child, and played those melodies of love and goodwill and passion. I didn't really hate those songs of his. In fact, I actually liked them quite a bit. I'm not shameless like him, so I don't say things like, I love you. And I'm a sourpuss, so I can't demonstrate positive feelings towards someone in an honest manner. But even so, the songs that he composed weren't for some stranger. Of course, they weren't for money either. At the very least, they were songs made for me. Us. That's why I liked them. Being able to sing together the songs he weaved, that was my happiness. But his sword has been rusted by sadness and broken apart by malice. He can't fight anymore. Perhaps Knight's ensemble will forever be unable to resound in perfect form. It's been damaged, bent, and broken. But the things he left behind, no matter how small they may be, still remain. Within this iPod, within the perishing nights, and within my heart. Embracing that, I will head towards my grave with pride, even if that pride may just be a bluff. Even if I get stones thrown at me, even if I get abused, spit on, no matter how ugly and corrupted I become, involving myself with horrible misdeeds. Because there was one person who existed who told me that he liked me, who called me beautiful. Because even if it was only for a moment, a part of my youth existed in my life, where I was affirmed and loved to the point where I was able to think that I was glad to be born. I don't want to pretend that never happened. I won't walk forward with my head hanging down in shame any longer. Even if it may be a blood-stained wasteland, even if I'll have to do it alone. Our Osama is useless, so it'll be a pain, but I'll duel on his behalf.